David Williamson, President and Chief Operating Officer of Modern Meadow.
Thank you all for your time and attendance. I realize I have the unenviable position of standing between you and food, so we'll try to make this at least an interesting and potentially an interactive conversation. So first, I wanted to just introduce Bio-VERA. So at Modern Meadow, we've been spending about the past decade looking to develop a new material that would really represent an alternative to a traditional hide. We've taken a similar opportunity target, as you might have seen earlier in the Ecovative presentation, but a different technical approach. And I think there's plenty of room to address the opportunity across both. So one of the things that we wanted to go back, one of the things I wanted just to highlight is we actually make a material that comes off in a rolled good, looks like a traditional leather material, a suede, a nubuck, a finished grain material. But we start in a very different way. So we start with a plant-based protein that's produced in combination with either post-consumer waste that we source from our partnership with BASF, or biomass waste in combination with a bio-based polymer, and then we build this around a renewable scaffold structure that allows us to recapitulate the structure and the chemical functionality that you often see with a traditional leather material. And really the way we look at this is we think about this as a new canvas for the leather industry, as a material that they can use with their existing know-how, drops directly into their production process, and really allows them to use the skills and knowledge and art, frankly, that they've developed over the past couple hundred years to create a material that performs, is more sustainable, and is also highly scalable. So I'm going to pass a few samples out if you want to take a look at them. And one thing that we note is that the materials themselves are engineered to be high-performing materials, whether that's for interiors and upholstery, or whether it's, for example, footwear, and of course in automotive. So the first couple samples that are coming around are a finished automotive grade. It's going through a perforation process for one of them, which is what you typically see in a seat material. And the other one that's coming around is a suede material that's come out of a tannery that we've developed a partnership with in Asia. And automotive comes out of a tannery that we've developed a partnership in Europe as well as in Mexico. So what do the industry like about this? They like the fact that it comes in a wide profile. They like the fact that it's largely defect-free. They also like the fact that the sustainability is notably improved over what they're working with today. So we've done a preliminary LCA analysis on the material, and we see significant reductions in greenhouse gas, water, eutrophication, and energy usage relative to traditional leather, as well as relative to synthetic materials as well. The automotive industry loves it so far. It's because it's high performing. It has met every specification, and with our automotive partners that we're working with, we're actually quite advanced with a couple of them. And they're viewing this as a complete solution for the interior of an automotive car. That includes the seat, it includes the sides, the door panels as well, and any dashboard application. And of course, footwear is looking for a high-performance material that's durable and beautiful and readily scalable as well. So what I wanted to come to share with you today is where are we in our scale-up process? So before I do that, let me talk about what is the Bio-VERA production process. So in contrast to the traditional leather production process where you start with the animal, you have to slaughter the animal, you have to then preserve and stabilize the hide. That hide is then shipped where it's tanned and then subsequently retanned and then finished. What we do with the Bio-VERA technology is actually we simplify that supply chain dramatically by starting with highly sustainable renewable feedstocks that we have complete visibility to. It allows us to have complete transparency into the entire production process. So we take our engineered nonwoven through our partnership with BASF. We then impregnate it with this really novel new material, which is a protein bio-based polyurethane hybrid material. In essence, covering this material in a protein continuous phase, giving it the chemical functionality that the leather industry relies on for a lot of the functional chemistry to work. That then passes through the post-tanning wet-end finishing, where they process it, they dye it, they soften it, they'll finish it, buff it, just like they would a traditional hide material. And then, of course, it goes to the final converter, whether it's a Tier 2 or Tier 1, where it's converted into a shoe with a cut-and-sew operation or eventually into a seat. What's really exciting about this is that it solves one of the major dilemmas that the leather industry has right now. And one of the reasons they're seeing seeing demand drop a little bit, which is a transparency issue. It's very hard to understand where your hide is coming from, where it's sourced out of Brazil, is it coming out of India, is it coming out of North America, in terms of from a sustainability perspective. As the EUDR starts to take foot in Europe, as well as the CSRD goals that are taking place that are impacting these brands in terms of their 2030 goals, it's become more and more important to have complete supply chain transparency, and Bio-VERA provides that. But let's talk about scale. So right now we have our bioalloy impregnation process to make what is in essence a semi-finished hide on a roll. We make that in a very efficient production process. We have a capacity in excess of 500,000 square meters a year. And then we work through a network of tanneries where they can process that material. One of the reasons that this is getting interest in the market is because it allows the brands to directly interact with the tanneries to select the color, the look, the feel that they're targeting, just like they would with a traditional material development project. So, for example, if you work with a footwear company and they have a certain color range they're looking for, we'll do the color matching work, we'll do the retanning process, and then we can go ahead and send them, 10, 20, 30 square meters of a hide material for them to go through their wear testing and the like. The other reason that we're getting a lot of traction and why it's driving some of our desires to rapidly scale the process is the properties. So this is just a small subset of the mechanical properties that we look at. Of course, in the automotive market, you're looking at 40, sometimes 50 different material specification requirements. And what we're finding with Bio-VERA is that it meets and fulfills all of the automotive performance, the performance footwear requirements across all of those tests. It's in fact outperforming leather. The perforated sample that you're seeing passed around now is actually an example of where they typically take a leather material for seating and they'll put a high density of fine perforation to that material. That typically compromises the material's mechanical performance. The material that's going around has 4 times the tear strength in that perforated form than a traditional leather. It gives designers tremendous design flexibility as they think about addressing really what is one of the problem area in an automotive seat. You can't do that with any other synthetic material that's out there. It also exceeds the performance of a lot of the newer incumbent materials in terms of its tensile strength, tear strength, abrasion, weariness as well. But interestingly enough, it breaks in and wears like a traditional leather, and that's because that continuous protein functionality is what typically allows it to breathe, allows it to absorb, and behave the way you look for it to behave. They also love the circularity of it. So one of the reasons we put the network of partners together, particularly with BASF, it allows us to start with either post-consumer or biomass waste that's then processed into our tailored nonwoven, where we impregnate it through the process I mentioned earlier. That ultimately results in a material that's over 90% sustainable content. It's up to the brand to decide if they want a post-consumer waste or if they want to have a biomass waste. That ultimately brings that up in total with the bio-based protein and, of course, the bio-based polyurethane to be over 90%. And what we're finding, depending on who you talk to, is some people love the opportunity to tell a narrative around these old tires have now become this new beautiful leather material. For others, it's much more around the overall bio-content of the material. Excitingly, though, we've actually taken that process all the way back through and when it's actually processed into the material that you're seeing now, and shown that we can completely recover the carbon from the original inputs back into the process, and any emissions are largely, over 90%, associated with the biogenic carbon in the material. In essence, offsetting any of the emissions that might come through the process, creating a real circular option for this material. So it starts out with sustainable feedstocks, runs through its normal course of life, which may be 10 or 15 years in a car seat, and then it can be stripped off and reprocessed at the end of the day. So we're excited about where we are. We've scaled at this point in time, standing up production facilities in the U.S., also standing up networks as well as another production facility in Asia, potentially in Europe. And we are ready to enter into regular product development. Scale is not an issue for us, so if you're interested in starting a project with us to see if this might be a solution for you, please do feel free to reach out. We'd be happy to bring you into our innovation cycle. So thank you very much.